What if this was our opening was just us in complete silence? I'm tired. Yesterday was a big day.
Well, hey everybody. Welcome to the Next Day podcast.
The next day on your discipleship journey. Let's get some energy.
I know. We're just like, what? I may have to edit out some of the silence. I don't want people to think something's wrong.
Hello?
So people turn up turn up their volume, and then all of a sudden when you start talking, it blows up their speakers. Well, I'm Chad.
I'm Christie.
And yeah, this is the Next Day podcast where we are going to talk about the sermons you got to hear from yesterday. So maybe you're in worship with us and any of the venues you were attending, you got to hear one of the sermons, but maybe you also came to church on Sunday and you got to be a part of our big old back to school bash cookout after church, all that fun stuff.
It was so fun.
Yeah. So this is just Christy and I. Full disclosure, we did have plans to have both Carl and Preston on, but then it's like meetings kind of went long, and then they had other meetings, and then I was like, fine, we'll do a boring one with just Chad and Christy. Because, this last Sunday, it really was kind of a big Sunday because it was back to school bash. We did blessing of the backpacks, and each campus did their own back to school bash kind of cookout after church, which I want to move that we do that every single Sunday. Every single Sunday, a cookout.
It was fun. It was so fun. And honestly, it wasn't as oppressively hot as I was anticipating that.
Oh, it was hot.
It was going to be. I mean, it was hot, but
it was hot.
I don't know. It worked out okay. I wish there was a way we could have had people stand in the shade for the line, but maybe next year, because I feel like everybody was super, thrilled about having this cookout, and I can just imagine it being something we do again.
I know. Yeah. So it was a lot of fun. And so just imagine you're ending worship and you're stepping outside and you just smell burgers and hot dogs, and people are playing cornhole, which I don't think you played cornhole, and you always say that's your game.
I know it is. We should have played. I mean, we were too busy doing stuff, but I played in the morning during the 9:00 service with Jesse.
Oh, yeah.
We played for 5 minutes. He was really begging me, and I was like, I got some stuff I got to do, bud. But okay, well, let's play real quick, and it was sweet.
You'll be in the Olympics before you know it. It'd be great. Yeah. Well, so that was a lot of fun, and we hope to do that again. But yeah, now Christy and I will get to our icebreaker. Let's see, Christy, I have 2 cards in front of me. I have no idea what these are. It's been a while since
I've pick the card on my right.
1 or 2. So 1.
Number 1. Yeah.
Number 1. Christy, I would like to visit blank. So what is a place you would like to visit?
Okay, it's a toss-up.
Toss-up?
Between 3 European countries.
Okay, you want to go to Liechtenstein and Belgium, which all our listeners are.
Hi!
And Estonia.
Close.
Oh, okay.
It's a toss-up really between France, really anywhere in France, Italy, basically anywhere in Italy, and Greece. Also basically anywhere in Greece. But I mean, mostly Santorini. I really want to go to Santorini. Or Croatia, which I know is not Greece, but it's coastal.
It's right there.
Just the similar kind of vibes, I guess. But kind of that general vicinity.
Anytime I think of those places, I think of those cities on the cliffs, overlooking like the ocean and all that, you know? And so I'm just thinking how cool would that be just to have like an Italian dinner or I don't know what a Croatian dinner would be, but like having that outside
amazing.
On
just
this
amazing.
cliffside, seeing all
the sun setting and like,
yeah. That would be pretty
stuff
nice.
Of dreams.
Over in the Mediterranean.
The closest I've ever felt to that, because I've never been overseas, but we went to Carmel, California, several years ago. It was like back in 2017.
It's almost Europe.
Close. But there's just like, it's that beautiful like cliff. We were at this restaurant that my uncle, he lives in Santa Barbara, and like is just very like, lives a very glamorous lifestyle, and but took us to this like country club or something in the restaurant there in Carmel that he's a member of, and we had this dinner. It was like right by the sea on like a cliffside, and you know you just look out and the water is just like you're just like, is this America? Like it's just so like vibrant colors. It was just so beautiful. So that's the probably prettiest place I think I might have ever been.
Nice. Yeah, I know Sable, she really wants to go to Italy. And that's like her dream vacation. And so she's always talking about that. And I'm just like, I've been to Olive Garden, so I don't really need to go.
No, you need to take Sable.
I don't really need to go to Italy.
I'm with Sable. Let's go to Italy. I'll go with you. We'll have a great time.
I mean, I think she would want to do like some sort of like she would want to go to like some small little town and like live in that little town for a bit, and then you drive the little cars all around.
That's a Vespa.
Yeah. Oh, I would love to drive around in a Vespa.
I know.
I don't know.
I feel like Justin would take me to Italy for many different reasons, but honestly, like just the idea of driving a Vespa around Italy, I think he would do it just for that.
Yeah. Have a little scarf.
Yeah.
His little scarf.
His little scarf.
He drives up to a local coffee shop and gets his tiny little mug, and he's drinking his espresso.
Tiny little espresso.
His macchiato or something. Yeah.
That reminds me, this is super random, but just all the things. Have you seen the Chipmunks movie where they're talking about like putting the chipmunks in jail, and they're like, you'll be in jail and it'll be behind tiny little bars and there'll be a tiny little toilet and a tiny little bed, and one of the chipmunks is like, it sounds so cute.
Yeah. It sounds so cute. I've never heard someone reference the Chipmunks movie.
Well, I have children that love Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Yeah. I think for me, tell me why, I want you to tell me why I'm saying this place. For me, a place I would want to go to is Iceland.
Oh, yes.
Why am I saying Iceland?
Because of Walter Mitty.
Yeah, Secret Life of Walter Mitty. That movie does a great job just kind of expressing or just showing it. Now, I want to do something that he actually does in that movie, because he's longboarding, so skateboarding down the roads and all that. I want to do that, but I'll be on rollerblades instead, because that's more of my thing.
Please wear a helmet.
Sure. And so,
oh my gosh,
no, I wear
so
a helmet.
Terrifying.
Sable makes me wear a helmet, but I would love just to go. But other than that, like just going around Iceland and just visiting it and going to all the different places would be pretty cool. We had some church members who just went.
Yes.
And they went to the Blue Lagoon, which is like this natural warm spring, and it's all blue because of the minerals,
like pale
and stuff.
Blue. Yeah. And
that'd be so cool. But other than that, like I would love to see that, and then kind of going to the other end of the world. Just going to New Zealand. I feel like there's a lot to see in New Zealand. Going to the beaches in New Zealand would be nice, but also just going to the like kind of all the areas that they did, like Lord of the Rings, you know. So it's just all this very...
I love that you called it the end of the world.
Yes. The other end of the world.
And next on our podcast, we're going to debate whether the earth is flat or round.
Don't get me started on that. So, you know what's weird is Sable will tell people, like, I don't know if she would tell people this, but now, I have been on a kick of watching flat earth videos online. Now, I'm watching it more for the purpose of people debunking flat earth theories. And I don't know what it is about it that is so satisfying to me that like, because part of me is kind of curious to hear. Sorry for all the flat earthers out there. But part of me has always been curious to go, okay, well, let me hear your theories. And so I'll hear them, but then you have someone who's into physics and astronomy and all, and they're like, but that doesn't make sense because of this. And it's something about the logic, these arguments kind of being made. I'm like, I don't know why I get so into all these debunking things, because I'm like, no, I really want someone to sell me on it, but there's yet to be a theory that actually makes sense on it. So anyway, I won't get into all that. That's for my other podcast.
My favorite thing is like it's like a meme or whatever of, this is how the dinosaurs went extinct. Have you seen that? It's like the meteor hits the flat earth and then it tilts and all the dinosaurs just fling off into space.
Oh, yeah. I saw that. Yeah. It's like a teeter-totter.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Anyways,
if you want to hear my theories on that, go to my
the other one.
Chad Conspiracies podcast. No. All right. So, but let's get to talking about our sermons. So we are actually in a sermon series now. And so for the first time in a long time, all the pastors talked about the same topic.
Oh my gosh. I know. It's been forever.
It's been like a long time. And, but yeah, so you got to hear Carl at the West Campus. You got to hear Preston at Traditional, and I was there, and I got to hear his in liturgy, and I did listen to Carl's as well, and then I got to hear yours, Christie's, at the Element.
Yeah.
So we are in a series called Because He Lives.
Well, we got to work on that.
I can face
Are you singing
tomorrow,
like the baritone line?
Because He lives. Okay.
That is.
I know. Is that how deep that goes? I know.
Low.
But that song was stuck in my head all day, by the way.
Me too.
The youth choir sang it in the bumper video, which you'll hear that on the podcast if you listen to it on there. And
which is so nice, like hearing them. And also, I think it was a subset of some of the kids in the youth choir, and I think it was several of them that are going off to college.
I know it is. And
they sang in the traditional service their last time
they did
to sing together.
A special quartet. Well, one of them is about to be a junior, but there's others, these graduating seniors, and it's just like, oh.
They apparently were all just couldn't get through like their anthem at 9:00, and just
I think people were tearing up because I told the congregation, like, hey, some of these youth choir members here, they've been part of the youth choir. They've been leading on music since they were in 6th grade.
That's
like
crazy.
For 7 years, they've been here in this congregation leading music, and now they sang. I'm not going to say they sang for the last time
They'll
at
come
St.
back
Peter's.
and sing.
Now they sang for the last time as a student.
That's right.
Because now they're about to be, one of our alumni. But all right, do people want to hear the behind the scenes of that bumper music?
Oh, yes, they do.
Do people want to hear that?
I
don't think we've shared with too many.
We haven't.
Yeah. So there was an alternate version of the singing of Because He Lives, and it was going to be with some staff. We had Preston, me, Carl, Christy, David Galasso, Holly
Alyssa.
was there. Elizabeth was there, but I think she was just recording.
I think she recorded.
I don't think she. So all of us were going to be singing this as staff members. And the best acoustics were in the bathroom. This was late.
It was
after
late.
church council. No one else was there wasn't much going on at the church, so we didn't have to worry about people barging into the bathroom. But all of us were all in this bathroom together. And it was definitely good acoustics. It's a very echoey, kind of cool sound.
We just needed a little more practice than what we were able to get.
We were trying to wing it. And everyone else, that's when I noticed Carl actually has like some music theory in him, because the way he was talking about stuff, I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Preston is very musical too.
Yeah.
I mean, it was actually really impressive. And David directed us, and we all had our hymnals. We have a picture of all of us recording this in the bathroom.
And I think we decided that it wasn't that great. And so we were like, let's go to the professionals. Let's go to the youth choir. And theirs is better.
It was fun, though. I mean, sometimes in the church world, you come up with some wacky idea and you try it and it doesn't work. But the important thing is that you tried it.
Yeah. I mean, the problem wasn't me, because y'all just all heard me.
Yeah.
Because
That's
he
right.
lives.
That's right.
I should have just got my harmonica and just played it. And,
Oh, that would have been nice.
But yeah, no, we are. A lot of people may really love this hymn, and a very well known one. And so what we're doing is kind of breaking apart and looking at some of the different lyrics, some of the different lines in it,
In the chorus,
mainly in the chorus, right? And and just really,
I mean, it's every line of the chorus,
yeah, and just kind of what are we saying when we sing this? When we sing, and this is a big part of our faith, like this isn't us just hyping up this hymn, which is great, but this is all about our faith, and this is what we believe, and the hymn speaks a lot of truth. And so I do like that Preston mentioned how this is typically a Easter hymn.
Yes.
And it is something that you would hear because he lives, right? Mm-hmm. Which I always have to make sure I'm not singing, he lives, na, 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 na. He walks with me and talks with me. Okay, anyways. But this is an Easter hymn, but the way Preston explained it, which I've heard this before, is that no, you should be singing this every Sunday because every Sunday is a mini Easter. Mm-hmm. Every Sunday is a celebration of the resurrection of Jesus Christ and our faith and all this. So every Sunday, really, this doesn't need to be confined to a specific time of year, but it could be sung year-round, which I agree.
I agree completely.
I agree. So this first lyric we talked about was, because he lives, I can face tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I can face tomorrow. And how fitting is it that this was kind of a back-to-school Sunday, as I know here in our Katy area, school starts this Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Are your kids excited?
Oh, yeah. I think
You're more excited?
I don't know who's more excited. I mean, my kids are thrilled to go back to school. Yeah. And we just, my phone has been blowing up all morning because it's like all of the moms that I'm friends with at the school, and they're all like, who's in your kids, or whose class is your kid in to, and we're all finding out today. Mm-hmm. It just like posted online. So like all morning, it's just been like, group text from all different sources, it's like soccer team source and then like the scouts and, neighborhood moms and stuff. So it's a very exciting time.
Yeah. But because of going back to school, it can have some fear and some anxiety and worry and all this because, kids going back to school, it can be exciting, and they get to see their friends and get to kind of do this whole new thing. And maybe they're excited about the grade they're going into, but sometimes they may be worried about the grade they're going into. Some of them are going into new schools. So like we have a whole bunch of 6th graders going to junior highs for the first time, to where they're going to have to actually walk around to their classes and be on time. And they're going to have some responsibilities. People becoming freshmen. Ugh.
Fish.
Ugh. I know. I need to take it. I think some students I need to take it easy with my joke about that, about like how terrible freshmen are.
Yeah, you've got to ease up. Pastor of student ministries.
Yeah.
You got to be nice to them.
Some of our students are like, Chad, so are you about to not like me anymore because I'm a freshman? Yes. Yes. I always just joke with them because I'm like, every movie and TV show just makes a big deal about like how terrible freshmen are. And I'm just like, it's so weird to me that because you're in a grade, like somehow you're not liked. It doesn't make any sense to me. Anyways, but it can have all this fear and anxiety. And so because he lives, I can face tomorrow. I can face all these worries. I can face all these hurdles and fears and everything that I have. Yeah. And so the scripture y'all talked about is one that I'm pretty familiar with because it's not only just in the Sermon on the Mount, but it is one I've preached on before too, even though I didn't do it this Sunday. But what was the scripture we talked about?
This was Matthew 6:20. I did 25 to 34. I think I don't know how much of that whole passage Preston or Carl preached on, but it's basically the same thing. It's don't worry, that, even the birds are taken care of, and,
look at the birds of the air.
Yeah. And like
they
the lilies
sow,
of the,
nor reap, nor gather into
barns, right. Or into storehouses, whichever translation. So, and then it goes on and talks about the lilies of the field and the way they're clothed.
Even all of Solomon and all his splendor.
And all his splendor. I know. Yeah, it's beautiful. Like, I love the way that it's written. And then at the end, it reinforces, like, are you not of more value than the birds? Are you not of more value than, like, the grass that just withers away? And at the end of the passage, it's a really famous line of, don't worry about tomorrow, because tomorrow has enough worries of its own, or today has enough worries of its own.
Which is true.
Yeah.
But I still worry about tomorrow.
Right. So,
this is the difficult. So let me just throw it out there, because you did a great job explaining a little bit more. Because I did a good job. No, it wasn't you. It was Carl and Preston. Okay. No. Because you actually addressed the thing. Like I said, I've taught on this passage before. I've preached on it before, and I find myself doing it often because this is a passage that I find very difficult. And as weird as that is, as such as a difficult passage, and yet I want to talk about it, mainly just to show people, like, I don't understand this either, y'all. But this whole idea, because when you read this from Jesus, it just really does make it seems way easier said than done. When Jesus says, hey, don't worry, and he is talking a lot about this during his time, during the Sermon on the Mount. He's talking about materialism. He's talking about wealth and, like, money, and he's talking about things like that.
Right. Like, and this is part of the Sermon on the Mount, right? So he's, like, addressed some of this starting in chapter 5, and it's bleeding all together. Yeah. So this is like, this passage starts with therefore, so there's, like, something before this. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
And so the thing I find challenging about this is, like, for example, if you just said, hey, don't worry about money. Hey, don't worry about where your next meal is going to be. Look at the birds in the air. But in my head, when I hear that, I'm like, I wish that we as humans, and maybe someone can tell me, I wish we could just go and just eat a bunch of insects and just eat some seeds on the ground.
Hakuna Matata.
And that we could, yeah. Like, I wish it was just that easy. Hey, don't worry about food, because look at the birds. They're fed. I was like, oh, let me just go outside and just grab whatever random thing and eat it, and that'll be healthy for me. But no, like, we have to eat certain foods, and we have to do things in a certain way, I guess. So that's what kind of always irks me with that. I was going, well, Jesus, like, I'm not a bird. Like, I wish it was that easy, but and what you said in your sermon was kind of going against someone, like, so let's say you see somebody who's hungry and starving, and you just, hey, don't worry, look at the bird. Like, it's not about that.
Right.
So what is it that you shared that really kind of explain what really Jesus meant.
What Jesus is talking about, right? Because it's not so much like don't, like, make good plans for the future. It's not like don't plant the crops. Don't, it's not like Jesus is just like, don't worry about it. Like, it's going to all be fine. Like, it's not minimizing the concern, because these are, like, valid concerns, like, where am I going to get my food from? Like, am I going to have enough money for, like, clothes on my back and my family, and, a home to be able to have shelter? Like, these are just, like, basic needs. And so it's not Jesus saying, like, don't worry, just like, oh, don't worry about your basic needs. Don't make these plans. Don't, try to, don't, like, work to make these provisions. The word that is used in this passage for worry is merimnaho, and it's, I hope I'm saying that right. Merimnaho. It's a Greek, that's the Greek word that is, it means, like, to have anxiety or care about, like a deep, like, care over. But it also, like, the root of this word is specifically because of distraction. So it's, like, specifically through distraction, you're, like, anxious and, like, have care over this word. And so, like, knowing that, like, the context of this word that Jesus is using, it's there's other words, and this about Greek and Hebrew. There's many different choices of words. Like, for us, like, anxiety means anxiety, right? Like, it's just, and then we just kind of have to, like, use our context clues to figure out, like, what it is about it that, that we're talking about. With Greek and Hebrew, and a lot of other languages, but especially these biblical languages, there's the word choice for that specific type of anxiety or type of love or type of fear or whatever, the thing is, there are words for it. There's a word for like everything. And so by choosing this word, merimnao or merimnao, however you say this, I didn't go listen to the word right before this podcast, so we can pull it up and have
all our Hebrew scholars. Wait, was this Greek?
This was Greek.
Yeah, all these Greek scholars are gonna be like, hey.
No. But having,
and you want to go to Greece and you can't even.
I know. I gotta learn. Anyway, so by using this word that's specifically anxiety through distraction, Jesus is saying like, by worrying about all of this stuff, you are stealing away from the joy of today. You're stealing away from, the gratitude and recognizing the way that God is present and moving and, with you and providing all of these, things that you already have. Like in this moment, right, these people have food and they have drink, like they are breathing, they're alive. I don't actually know what state these people are in, but they have, these are tradesmen, of all sorts of different trades, right? Like they might be under like Roman oppression, but like they are cared for, like they have the things that they need and they're worried that those things are going to go away. And so Jesus is like, by worrying, you're not adding anything to tomorrow. Like it's not fixing any of those problems. Like you can go ahead and like plan and make provisions for yourself for, the future, but it's about leaning into trust, like trusting that God is going to care for you, trusting that those provisions are going to be had, but don't let them distract you from the goodness of today and the way that God is in today. And, oftentimes we, I know this from my, personal experience with this, and I think a lot of us do. I know there's a book titled This Anxious Generation. Like we are an anxious generation of people. We've grown up with all sorts of, catastrophes. I mean, like I can look back on my life and I'm like, I was
in the last 5 years.
Yeah, no, just the last 5 years,
COVID,
right?
COVID, we had Snowmageddon, we had
and that's just natural disasters. It's like,
9/11
9/11 happened when I was in sixth grade, I mean, like airports have never been, for most of my life, it's like an anxious kind of thing, a lot of like tragedies that have happened in schools and malls and like just large groups, right? Like it's just, there's so much, that we look out into the world. And I'm like, it's back to school Sunday. So like, these are things that I'm like, we're not going to dive into this, right? I'm not going to dive into all of this kind of content on a Sunday when I know there's kids with their backpacks here. But as a parent, with going back to school, with kids going back to school, like that's always on the back of my mind. Like I've lived, we've lived through like seeing this and it's terrifying. But there's nothing that worry is going to do for me. Like this is where I know I have to lean into trust. I have to make like safe choices. I have to like, make these provisions for my kids, like do what I can, but then at the end of the day, leaning into trust. And so instead of like going into your mind and like turning inward, and I always like think about Ebenezer Scrooge with this. That's more about greed, but like, oh gosh, what's the guys on Lord of the Rings? The guy that's my precious.
Oh no,
yeah, my precious.
Smeagol.
Yeah, that guy.
Gollum.
Gollum, thank you.
His Hobbit name was Smeagol, I think.
And again, like that's also like greed, but anxiety really does the same thing. Like if you think about like turning inward, it's not intended to be like selfish, it's not intended to be like hurting anybody. And that's not even what I'm saying. Whereas like greed really is like, it's a very obviously selfish act, but anxiety can be too, because you're turning inward and looking inside at yourself, but not in a reflective, like introspective kind of way. In like I'm going to use my imagination to look at the future and imagine all of these horrible things and like get like deep down into the darkest parts of my mind and just stay there instead of opening yourself up to the goodness of God, and to trusting God. Like trust is an open hand, right? Trust is not a closed fist. Trust is an open hand. So instead of opening ourselves up to trusting in God, that like God has got it tomorrow. Like God is with us today and God is with us tomorrow. And like, you know, just leaning into that trust, you know, we oftentimes close ourselves off. So when Jesus is like, look at the birds of the air, like look at the grass, like what Jesus is doing is directing our attention to and our awareness to like creation and like the little things, right? Like these little things that we oftentimes take for granted. We just pass by, you know, we don't spend a whole lot of time, you know, just contemplating them. But I really would argue that like the happiest people in the world, like in their lives, you know, will sit and take appreciation of those things. So, you know the phrase "stop and smell the roses," right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like taking that moment to appreciate the little things and looking outside of yourself and realizing, okay, God cares for all of these little things. God, as creator, has ordered this ecosystem in this like perfect, beautiful, harmonious kind of way. And all of the birds like have their provisions, and like all of the, you know, in the springtime we see the flowers bloom, you know, and it's like, this is this beautiful thing that God has created and takes care to have this. I mean, it's like we were created and we were put on this earth, but it wasn't just like this, you know, barren land, wasteland, right? Like, you know, God took the time and care to make flowers, to make it beautiful for us, right? You know, to be able to live in the glory of God and God's creation. And so like when we look outside ourselves like that, I think that is the antidote to anxiety, and that produces within us a hope. And that is what, you know, pushes us forward even through these times where we, you know, will tend to worry about the future.
Which I will say, I'm very proud of you that you were given these two illustrations of birds in the air and flowers in the fields.
And I went with birds.
And the one you went into more description of was the birds, because we all know you love plants and gardening and all that, but you actually talked about what was it? The grackle?
The grackles, the great-tailed grackle.
See, I knew there were grackles. You're talking about these birds that anybody around Texas, at least, I'm sure other places have it too, but like these are just these, I mean, to us, they're just like generic brown,
kind of gross looking.
And sometimes they're black with like a purplish kind of glow to them. But
and
they're
you think it's like oil? Like
yeah, they're all in like parking lots.
Uh-huh.
Like really, like they're just in parking lots. They're underneath cars. They're trying to eat like the food that people dropped. Like Sable and I call them trash birds.
Yeah,
they're just
they
like,
are.
They really are. And sometimes they can do, I will say like they have, they can kind of mimic stuff, because I think I've heard some do like almost like car alarm sounds and things like that. But you were talking about them and how they migrate and stuff or something, right? I mean, they don't have to worry. They're just waiting for someone to drop food in the parking lot and they just eat.
Yeah. I mean, for some reason, it's like Houston is a stopover point for the grackle.
I just thought they were here year round. I never knew they even
No, I mean, because you know and it's actually in the fall. So like, I think it's September, October, like we're going to start seeing the migration happen. And I don't know where they're going. I mean, usually it's like, you know, birds will go like south for the winter. I don't know where they're going, but, they are, you know, usually their number one gathering place is like a grocery store parking lot. I don't know what it is. It's like, this is a good spot.
Here's a good place to poop on all the cars. Let's do that.
But it is really like, ominous to like pull up in a parking lot and there's just like a million birds.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've ever experienced it, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was cool. And going back to what you were saying about that trust in God, what Preston really did, he had like an illustration too. I thought he was going to take it a little further than what he did. So he had some cereal on. Oh,
I heard about the cereal.
Yeah, he had some cereal up there. I didn't know if he's going to try to pull like a Morris where he's going to try to make something in front of everybody.
Did he have like a box or like a bowl?
He had the box, bowl, a thing of milk, spoon, everything you needed.
Wow.
But what he was saying was, now his favorite cereal, do you know what it was? It was
Lucky Charms.
No, Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Oh, good choice.
Yeah, it is a good one. But he was talking about how there was I didn't make a note of who said it, but somebody had talked about like all the hands that went into preparing the meal that they had. And so then he started going to, okay, so I started thinking about for breakfast, if I'm having my favorite cereal, how many hands, how many people were involved in this bowl of cereal that I'm eating? And so then he went as far as like talking about, well, first the grain had to grow and all these other ingredients had to grow. So someone had to plant those seeds, and then eventually someone had to, farm
harvest
it and
them,
harvest it. But then you had to have, so it goes from like the farming aspect to the manufacturing aspect of like, well, then the cereal has to be made in this factory. It has to be put together. This is my kind of
sermon. I love it. And then, farm to table.
And then he went to like the box.
Table.
Someone had to design the box and had to design this and advertising. And then you had the grocery stores. You had to have people put it on the shelves, and you had to do that. And then you buy it, and then you had to have a clerk sell you the cereal. So then you're buying it from them. But then he was like, now that's just a cereal. I'm not going to get into milk.
Yeah.
Or who made the bowl and who made the spoon and who made, like, so it's just, you just kind of think about all these things that happen for you to have that. And he was tying that into like, God is at work in our lives. We have people at work in our lives, whether we realize it or not. Like, you don't think about that when you're eating that cereal, all right? Like, you don't
never
sit there.
do.
Yeah. And so in our life, God is at work. There's people in our lives, like they're at work in our lives. Like, there's so many things happening. So don't let worry and anxiety and don't let that distract you from thinking that God is absent, because God is there and is all these other ways. And he started off the whole sermon with, how much he loves the song because he lives. But then he was like, but man, do I find it challenging to sing this song when something bad happens? And he was talking about his AC went out in his house.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I heard about that.
In Houston, in August. And it's amazing hearing the whole congregation just go, oh no. Yeah. Oh, you poor thing. Oh, it's like everyone.
I've heard so many people who have like their AC was out this month,
Yeah.
It's like it just hit the point where it was like, I'm tired.
Yeah.
We've been working hard.
So just like when things are going wrong, like, do you feel like still singing that? And then I also love that he said sometimes in our lives we may sit there and think, we might accidentally think because he lived.
Right.
And this isn't past tense.
Right.
It's because he lives, that he is still active in our lives right now.
Yeah.
I can face tomorrow. I know that I could be going through a rough time right now, but I know because he lives, I can just keep moving forward. And so, so it was a really good, really good sermon from him. And I know Carl even went into more about like the people who Jesus was sharing this word to.
Right.
And all that he did a good job kind of going through like, here's what they likely went through.
Wow,
and he's sitting there telling them, don't worry. And they're like, they've been through so much worry. They've been through so much.
Right.
But so he really went into that and kind of said the same message that you said of just like, don't let that distract you. Don't, Which
is like, I mean, this is another thing that we talked about a bit, was just like, it's easier. It feels like it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
But this is where I think it really is a practice. Like, joy is a choice that you make every day to seek it and to find it, and to even manufacture that in some way. We don't do that on our own, right? But like to be in connection with the Holy Spirit and to let the Holy Spirit cultivate joy within us. Mm-hmm. But it takes practice on our part, to be able to do that. And I think, when people are like, say, don't worry, or like, but look at all the good things, like what they mean well. And I know it feels empty and it feels minimizing to like whatever thing that you're going through. But, I always try to think like they are trying to, put your eyes back on the truth of, that God is with us. Like Jesus lives. Like that is our hope, right? Like we don't have anything without hope. So that's I think what I want someone to walk away with, listening to this podcast, I guess like that question of what are you doing in your life? What practices are you intentionally working on and doing to cultivate this spirit of joy and peace and hope in your life? And I think like that is I would say I'm just going to like plug our midweek, Wednesday nights is like adding a +1 to your week. Mm-hmm. I think like coming to church and listening to sermons and hearing these songs that, speak to our soul, I think is so life-giving and fulfilling. But, I read a quote the other day that was like, Jesus' disciples spent every hour with Jesus for like 3 years. I don't remember what it was like, 8,000 hours or like something wild. But it was like, however many hours there are in a week, right? Like Jesus' disciples spent that many hours with Jesus, and still they, as the gospel writers write about him, it was like, ye of little faith, right? Mm-hmm. Do we really think that we can get by and become disciples of Jesus Christ with 1 hour a week dedicated to learning and growing? So like, Wednesday nights is an easy next step into that. Finding a Bible study, finding a life group, and there's something for everybody. That's every age and stage, to get to do that.
And everyone should be a part of something to where they actually get to talk out their faith. Because, going to church is great. And it is, there needs to be both. Like, go be in community and worship and sing songs of praise, hear a good sermon, hear all this. But at some point, it's so great to be part of a small group where you get to talk.
Right.
Just like Christy and I, like we're sitting there talking like this, and
it helps.
And a lot of this is like just out of curiosity. Sometimes, like, what do you think this means? What do you wait? What is this? Like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Like, and then you just be able to talk about it, and you're going to hear other people agree with you. You're going to hear someone who can share a story that may enlighten you on something,
mm-hmm. Or just hearing other
and you
people's...
don't get that in a worship service so much. I mean, and so it is good to be a part of a small group, Bible study, Sunday school group, life group, whatever it may be, where you get to talk about things.
Being like a part of a conversation and hearing someone else's reason for their hope, there is something about it. Like a testimony is so powerful. So you get to like share those with each other and have these, moments of connection with, people who are it's like we're all in the same boat, and in some regard, we're in the same ocean. We'll just say it like that, maybe different boats, but we're all in the same ocean. So it's important. I hope that all of our listeners, that you are taking time to do that. And the podcast is one way that you're doing it. So I'm glad you're taking that step. Yeah.
And just kind of going back to something we did touch on, just something if I was teaching this with students, like one thing I would just have to really stress, and again, it's going what you was stressing is like, in no way is this scripture telling us that we can't feel sad, that we can't feel upset, and that we can't, and the whole thing of like some translations say, don't be anxious, Jesus says, don't worry. Worry makes it sound like, you actually have somewhat control. We're anxious and anxiety. We understand that that's a real mental health thing, right? And in no way is Jesus just dismissing, because the worst thing you can say to someone who's going through depression is, well, have you tried just being happy? Mm-hmm. Y'all, that's not it. Like that's not what it is. So in no way is this scripture and this passage going against any of that. It's good to have those emotions. It's good to feel sad. It's good to feel, but just like you said, but don't let that rob you from knowing that God is there.
Right. I mean, take those emotions, take that worry and all of that to God.
Yes.
Don't go inside yourself and, develop. And I said this quote in the sermon, but I love it. Dan Zadra is the author who wrote this, but it says, worry is a misuse of imagination. And I love that quote so much because it's so true. We have this like beautiful capacity to imagine, and create. Like God gave us this gift. Use it as the gift it was meant to be, not to worry, but to imagine this hopeful future. But with those worries, we go outside of ourselves and just take those to God, and like work it out. And again, like you said, being able to talk out your faith, Chad, like, going and finding a trusted person that you can say, like, I'm really worried about this, and someone who is going to like sit with you in the midst of whatever you're going through but continue to point you back to God, not in a way of like minimizing, like, it's going to be fine. It's okay. I mean, sometimes you need to hear that, like, it will be okay. Like, it is going to be okay. It will. Like, this too shall pass. Those are very hopeful things to hear when you're going through a hard time, but also someone who will like sit with you in the midst of that worry and say, okay, what are 5 things that you can be grateful for right now?
Yeah.
There's nothing that you're going to do to change whatever the thing is you're worrying about by just worrying about it.
Yeah. And that's where it always reminds me when I tell students about, like, it's so great to ask questions, and you need to ask questions. It's okay if you are confused or something about our faith. You're not alone on that. And I tell them the only time it's wrong to have, like, when it's wrong to have questions about your faith is if you just have those questions, you go, that doesn't make any sense. Why quit? It's kind of like, no, like, seek out an answer. Go talk to somebody. Stay plugged in and keep at it. Don't just give up the minute something goes, well, that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
It's kind of like, well, stay with it. Like, that's fine if you think it doesn't make any sense. And again, you're not alone in that. There's lots of stuff that we're all trying to figure out and discover. And I just think if you stick with it, I'm not going to say all answers are going to be revealed to you, but like, it will start to make sense after a while. I don't know. So that was our first of the series, Because He Lives, I Can Face Tomorrow. So you can listen to those on the podcast or go to our YouTube channels and you can listen to them there. Next week is Because He Lives,
All Fear Is Gone.
All Fear Is Gone.
Which is it, really...
I guess it seems almost...
Yeah, it really...
Is it similar?
It's similar, but I think it kind of takes a different approach, to talking about like some of the things that we fear in life. And what does that look like for all fear to be gone?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. We'll tell you how to get rid of all your fears. So that'll be next week. And let's get to our ministry shout out. We are doing one that's currently happening right now. It is, we have realized that, this is kind of a rare thing that as we're going back to school, we're not really being asked to donate school supplies type of stuff, mainly because we've already done some of that earlier in the year or in the summer.
Right,
we've
VBS,
we've already brought a whole bunch of school stuff. So one need that we do know that some families, because with going back to school, it can be a financial burden, not only for school supplies, but also for clothing. I don't know, Chrissy, do you remember back when you were going back to school? Like, was it back to school shopping and like what you were going to wear? Was that a big deal?
Yes, I talked about that a lot in my sermon.
Oh gosh, your hiking boots.
Yeah,
oh,
no,
gosh.
I mean, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
I remember specifically in 8th grade. So I never had like the like newest, trendiest thing. But to be fair, I always wanted to like have something that like stood out as like unique. Like I always wanted to wear something that was like not everyone else was going to be wearing. And I remember the summer before 8th grade, I had gone to California and I bought a shirt from Hollister, but at that time, like Hollister, California, like it was only in California.
Yeah, it wasn't like it is now.
Yeah. It was like a very like specifically to California brand. And so I was like, and my uncle was like, oh, this is like a huge thing. Like all the teenagers, like this is the thing to wear. And I bought a shirt that said Hollister. And then I was like, yes, I'm going to be the only one that has a Hollister shirt. And then I went to school and everybody had Hollister. I was like, dang it.
But yeah, like I remember it was a big deal, like where we went like back to school, but and sometimes it's for that, but also, sometimes some people, they just need everyday clothing.
Right.
And that's a struggle for kids are always growing. I don't know if you know this. Kids are growing.
I know, yes.
Yeah. And maybe something happened to where they tore something or something, I don't know, they just can't use. So clothing is always a need. And so we are helping out. We are teaming up with Clothed by Faith. You may have heard us talk about them before. It's one of our ministry partners. They really are like next door to us. Like they are like, they almost share the same property as us. And so we are teaming up with them as they are taking all sorts of donations for socks, underwear, shirts, shoes, and that is for all ages. Yeah. And I always have to stress that because sometimes people think back to school, you might just instantly think of first, second, and third grade kind of ages. But no, this is also for junior high and high school.
Yeah.
A lot of times high schoolers kind of get left out of those conversations. Like get a grown person's pair of jeans and donate those because somebody in high school is going to need that.
Yeah, I mean, Clothed by Faith does, clothes for any age. But specifically for this clothing drive, I know they've been in need of new socks and undies.
Yeah, that's always a need. Always a need. Year round, if you're just wanting to find ways to help out in your community, go buy socks and underwear and all that, and donate those. Socks and underwear have to be new at Clothed by Faith.
Brand new,
they can take used pants and shirts and stuff, but not used underwear. As much as good intention as people have, don't bring your used socks and underwear because they're just going to throw them away.
And then Family Hope Fulshear, they are doing a shoe drive, and they are, similar to clothes. I mean, I think Clothed by Faith is specifically clothing. Family Hope Fulshear does a lot of things to help underprivileged families in the Fulshear area. And so they are wanting to put a new pair of shoes on 1,250 kids this year. Last year, they were able to give out 1,205 pairs of shoes. I think their goal is around 1,200. I'm not quite sure what their goal is, but this year the goal is 1,250. And you can pay money. Yeah. So $25. We had a tap to pay, out yesterday. So you just pay $25, and that's one pair of shoes, brand new shoes for a child. And
so we're not looking for donations of shoes. We're looking for donations so then they can go and buy the shoes that are needed. And that's a lot of souls that we're helping.
We are helping so many souls.
I know. We're helping. Healing and okay, I'll stop. But yeah, so those are just ministry shout outs. So you can find more information on our website, stpkaty.org/missions.
Yep.
Missions. And you can find all the information there on how to give and help us with that. As that's just going to be continuing to help us just help people as they go back to school. And some of this is going to be good for year-round stuff too.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well, Christy, it's been another great episode of the Next Day podcast.
It's been a great next day.
Yes. Well, we hope you all can join us next week as we continue to talk about Because He Lives on the Next Day podcast.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.